We're going to talk to Ian from California. Hi, Ian. How are you doing tonight? Ian, how are you tonight? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Hi. There we go.
I'm told not that. Yeah.
That's okay. Thanks for holding and waiting.
Yeah, no, I've been watching your girls' show and a couple others too, and something that I just keep noticing, obviously time and time again, is just it's a smug demeanor when it comes to Christians, insisting upon they have the answer, and then just undermining anybody and everybody else's anecdotal experiences. We all got them, or in some cases, people they don't got them. But for some reason, when it comes to Christians particularly, and Muslims too, they're pretty picky about this. They'll just insist that whatever you went through was wrong, whatever they went through was correct, and not a damn thing you're going to be able to say will, change that. So there's no winning an argument or even discussing anything for interpretation, because the belief is so strong that what they experienced is correct. But whatever you have to say is whatever you have to say.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you are frustrated with the type of conversations that are happening, and particularly from the theist side?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. But that's been yes. In short, yes. It's frustrating, and I'm not understanding. I watch, and I try to keep this perspective. All right, let's hear what they have to say, and let's hear what this person has to say. And it always comes down to, well, my experience is more important than yours, and therefore mine is correct. And I've seen this on shows like yours. Go on.
Yeah, I can really appreciate why you feel that way, and I think that is true sometimes, but I don't think it's always like that. You might be casting a wide kind of encompassing all the type of conversation that happen. One of the things with this show is that, or all of these type of call-in shows, is you're going to get a lot of kind of repeat calls, and a lot of, when you look back at it and look at all the different calls, there's going to be ones that feel like they're all happening. They're all very similar. I don't think it's pointless though, because I mean, Stacy and I are both, witness to the fact that shows like this and these conversations, as monotonous as they can feel and as indignant as people can come across on both sides, mind you, they're still really important to have. And you just never know who's watching and who is listening in the audience. And is hearing somebody, and maybe they have the exact same story, and they've been believing with the same reasoning for many years. And something about that conversation on that day with that host, they're going to say something, and that's going to, it's going to hit a little differently for somebody. So I think it's important, even though, yes, sometimes frustrating, to have people call in, and you can clearly tell that they're not going to change their mind. They're not even going to budge because of things like that. The other thing I'll say, and then I'll let you chime in, Stacey. I'm sorry, I keep talking.
No, it's fine. Don't worry.
Is that, I mean, we know that this is a problem in a lot of ways, and that's why there's been a lot of effort put in on different kind of conversation styles, like street epistemology. If you go and, you can go watch certain, I mean, even this show, and you see how different hosts interact, and you see other types of programs out there. You watch like Anthony Magnabosco, who has had a big influence on Dan, I know, and, we try to have at least some of those ethics in our calls here on Truth Wanted, about how to have conversations and where to take the conversations. And you see that there are a lot of different methods for conversations. And you can see with someone like Dan that people do change their mind, even when you don't think that there's any hope for them. A lot of these conversations don't have any impact the day of. A lot of these are, I mean, as Stacey and I have both said, these things take a while, right? Mm-hmm. And so a conversation that happens for somebody on that day, they might not have done anything, but maybe the fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh time they've called in, something will start to feel a little uncomfortable, and they start to feel that cognitive dissonance. So there's many reasons why we still have these conversations, even though it doesn't feel like they're going anywhere sometimes. Yeah. What do you think, Stacey?
Yeah, no, I've been listening to lots of call-in shows because I still am so interested. And I've thought back to when I was a Christian, and I wondered, okay, how would I have responded or thought about things if I had heard them? And I know that it definitely would have chipped away at my beliefs. It wouldn't have necessarily, I don't think it would have done it on the first time I ever heard it, but I think these conversations are important, and obviously they are working because I would never have thought that I would be here. So, um, yeah, I mean, even for me, this wasn't like an overnight thing. So it's not going to, I don't think you're going to hear someone lose their faith. I mean, maybe you will. I shouldn't say that, but I think it'll be very rare for someone to call in and then lose their faith in a single call. You're going to walk away and think about those things, and it's going to start making sense, and you're going to start researching things on your own. I would imagine, because that's what I did, and what a lot of people who grew up in, Christianity or whatever religion you grew up in, um, it it's not going to just fall away in a 20-minute phone call. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah. Ian, do you have any other thoughts about that? Or how I would maybe ask you too, what do you think could change in these conversations to make them feel more productive? Do you have any ideas in that way?
One more time, because I misheard what you said.
Sure. If you could provide any like suggestions, what do you think would be helpful in these conversations to make them more productive, maybe for the person calling or even just the audience? Is there anything that you would like to see that you haven't seen happen?
Yes, and it's a very strange thing that people are gonna like stare at me blankly for if you were in person. Go to Barnes and Noble, go to the bargain bin and get a copy. And I do mean this. Just copy. It's like $7 of the U.S. Constitution, because there's some interesting writings in it from the framers that are very vague. And I do mean vague when it comes to any form of religion. As much as Christians and Catholics and everyone likes to prance and on about how this country was framed by religious people, they were very private with it. And they were very private with it on purpose, because they were overthrowing a monarchy where the whole reason a monarchy was in charge is because God said that was how it was supposed to be. That's one of the more brilliant things about it. And something I noticed as I read these writings, like it's again, anecdotal experience, but there's a formula to the universe and it knows what it's like. There's something weird. I can't explain what. And the best way I can ever explain it, the only way I've been able to explain it, is imagine you're watching an episode of The Twilight Zone and you're starring in the role. There is no explanation. It's borderline mysticism, magic, and science fiction, but you're in it. And everyone else thinks you're crazy. Anytime you see somebody screaming on the corner with pigeons with tinfoil hats, I know how they got that way.
Ian, but I have no idea how we got from my question to that.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about conversations.
I know I'm trying.
Yeah, I feel like we went to a completely different conversation here, which is fine, but we are not talking just about conversations.
Let me try again. Let me try again. I'll try like.
Okay, but do you remember what the question was?
I thought the question was, how can people communicate in terms of addressing whether their beliefs in terms of Christianity compared to atheism, and transitioning from one to the other, if that's what someone's trying to do. Maybe I misinterpreted that.
Close. That's pretty close. But all I actually asked was, what would you like to see to make conversations like this more productive? And if you want to call in about if you want to call in, talk to us about the mystical thing, I would absolutely love that. But we are way too close to the end of the show, and that sounds like a deep one. We need to set aside some time for.
That's cool. My simple thing is read. Just read everything and anything, fiction and just read. Get your hands on everything you can. Your religion, other people's religions, just read everything. And the more you read and the more you compare and contrast, just remember, you're a tiny little cog in a great big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I agree. That's a great place to end off on. And Ian, thanks for calling in. You totally piqued my interest with that other thing you were about to go into, but call us again. Call us next week. I don't think I'll be here, but someone will be, and we will get into that whole thing because that sounded like an interesting topic. So thanks for calling.